Well, hello everybody, and welcome to the Big Dudes in the Trenches podcast. I am Ben,
Bug.
joined by Tug. Doug's not here; he's having another beer down in Mexico, so it's just me and
Hell
Tug this
yeah.
week. And Doug, we hope you're having a wonderful time and
Let's be
relaxing some.
real. He's earned this and then some. So enjoy your time down there, buddy. We'll see you next week.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, as the title says here, we're going to review NFL Week 5 and college football Week 6. And there's no time like the present. Let's kick it off with some NFL news. Tug, take us away.
Ooh. All right, guys. Devontae Adams might be a little bit of an asshole. Uh, Walking off the field was clearly in a bad mood and just yeeted a cameraman off onto the ground. He is going to be suspended for at least one game, per some sources out there. Um, that cameraman has filed a police report against Devontae Adams. This one is much more, significantly more valid than the police report filed against Bobby Wagner. This is just absolutely insane, and it's not the first time he's taken out a cameraman. Granted, the first time was in Green Bay. He caught a touchdown, and when he just threw the ball behind him, he domed a cameraman. So if you're a cameraman, watch out for Devontae Adams.
That's what I heard. Yeah, it's crazy. I just kind of saw that Devontae Adams was in the news for something ridiculous, and then I saw it, and I was like, what would cause somebody to want to do this? Tough loss, losing by 1 point doesn't feel good, so I get it. But at the same time, dear Lord, dude, come on. Did
I mean,
Aaron Rodgers rub off on him that much?
while we're here, do we really want to talk about that game real quick with that roughing the passer?
I mean, are
If
we
only
talking
be
about the other roughing the passer?
I was going to say the only reason I'm bringing it up, and we can bring both up into it, is because the NFL's competition committee is looking at roughing the passer rules, seeing if they want to change them. Now, that's not saying anything's going to change. If I'm be honest with you, nothing is going to change. Um, it's just watching those two is kind of nuts.
I'll say this. Frankly, thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. I do enjoy my Mike Ditka mustache here. I'll say this though, as far as roughing the passer penalties go, the one that was called in that Chiefs Raiders game, much more applicable to the rule. Then hold on for a second. Hold comments
No,
here
I
for a
know,
minute.
I know.
Uh, what I will say about the Buccaneers game is not only that changed the course of the game, that was not roughing the passer. And the crew showed as much too. Like, I couldn't believe when I watched it because they come back for commercial break and they show Brady getting hit 5-6 times. One of them, he got hit in the side of the knee, no flag. But then that play was ruled a flag. He's wrapped up around the waist. The defensive player was rolling as he wrapped him up. Like, it wasn't anything malicious. That was a third down. Buccaneers would have punted on the next play, but instead they get a first down and end up being able to knee out the game. That absolutely changed the course of the game. Now,
So the only thing I'm going to say with that is, and this is in line with what you were saying because I've made my feelings on what I'm about to bring up clear. If that's roughing the passer, then the hit on Tua was also roughing the passer.
and that
Both of
wasn't
them.
rough. Yeah, and that's my thing is that hit on Tua was not roughing the passer, and
Yeah.
that hit on Brady was not roughing the passer. Like, that was
No, I agree.
ridiculous. That was a clear fix uh for the Buccaneers, in my opinion. Like, that was, I don't get it. What I will say about the Chiefs game is, had Derek Carr not fumbled the ball, that call is perfectly in line with the rule, right? There's the
Correct.
whole body weight issue and everything. So I understand why the flag was thrown. The issue is there was a fumble. Like, that's not
Yeah.
a penalty at that point. That's a fumble. That's a
In
strip
the
sack.
and honestly, even if you want to call the penalty, if you're calling it on the body weight rule, and you and I had this discussion earlier, if you want to call it on the body weight rule, I get that. Cool. Here's the problem with that. The fumble had already occurred. Chris Jones had already had that ball. Therefore, the foul technically occurred after the turnover. Therefore, it still should have been Chiefs ball. Even if you want to flag it at that point, at least get your order of events correct.
Yeah. So I just
have one more thing on this, and then we can move on to surprise trade in the NFL. But what the last thing I have on this is when the NFL competition committee member who decided to remain anonymous went out and said that there is no standard. They basically said it's completely subjective. And then you realize that the only rule in the NFL rulebook, they are told to err on the side of caution. Like, I ref high school, middle school ball, and I get it's not the same, but we are explicitly told that if you are not sure if there was a penalty, do not throw the flag. They want you to be
right.
100% certain. Roughing the passer in the NFL is the only one that they're told to err on the side of caution. If it might have been, throw the flag. And that's absolutely absurd.
Exactly. And, the competition committee's coming together. They're having a conversation. I wonder if they're going to come up and say, hey, we're going to look and see any time that there is a, potential for roughing the passer, we're going to review it. Kind of like we see with targeting.
They're never going to do that because they've already strong-armed that out of the game with the way they did the PI reviews, even ones that were clear on the review. They still never overturned. So I don't see that happening personally.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense to me what's going on.
I'm with you.
And I think the thing that screams to me the most is that we can't look at the NFL rulebook and say, yeah, this is exactly how it should have been called, because they can't even do that.
Yeah. No, and that's the thing. That is 100% the issue because they can't even tell you what should and should not be called.
So, I mean, I don't know what you're going to do.
No, I don't either. Moving on, though, there is a trade in the NFL. The Atlanta Falcons are sending Deion Jones, linebacker, to the Cleveland Browns, along with a 2024 7th-round pick for Cleveland's 2024 6th-round pick. Talk about being traded for absolutely nothing, man.
I mean, we saw a first-round draft pick get traded for basically a sack of footballs earlier this year. So,
you're not wrong.
What are you going to do?
All right, we'll try and keep this next one short because you and I could have a lengthy discussion on this. We are completely on other sides. It's okay. This is why we have a good show. At least what I think is a good show is because we do disagree on some things. But the NFL has announced, the NFL and NFLPA have jointly announced that they found no violations in Miami's application of the concussion protocol on Tua. What does that mean? The first thing everyone's going to ask is, well, then why was the doctor fired? Ben, I saw the debate you were having on Facebook. I'm not going to take any, honestly, not thought out arguments such as, oh, it's for his medical opinion, which would in turn mean that the protocol was improperly applied. Not what I'm going after. What it looked like is the NFLPA wanted a scapegoat and they chose the doctor right away. And the reason I say that is even the NFL has come out and stated that they have never supported firing that unaffiliated doctor. So it was 100% you're the easy one to chop off, so we're going to chop you off and make it look like we're doing something immediately. I hate to say it, but that's what that was. But what does this mean about concussions? Honestly, this tells me, Ben, you were highlighting this as why this is probably the worst case scenario, is we don't really know how truly dangerous they are. We don't fully understand them. And that is 100% true. Medicine, including neuromedicine, is all a science. We're learning every day. To me, the key is that we learn from it, we add something, and we move forward. And that is what the NFL has done in 2 separate instances now. I'm upset I don't have the Tom Savage incident details, but this happened a few years ago where he was cleared of concussion. They went back and reviewed it and went, wait a minute, there's something wrong with our protocol. He never should have been cleared, and made adjustments. They did that again this week. We were talking last week about the potential for gross motor instability. Well, they took it a step further. They have added the medical term ataxia to no-go symptoms. Ataxia is a loss of balance, a slurring of speech, some other things that are neurologically based. If you show any of those, it's an immediate no-go symptom and you're pulled out of the game and immediately put into concussion protocol. This has happened twice just this past week. On Thursday night with Naheem Hines. That was before the rule was officially put in place. And then as well as on Sunday with Teddy Bridgewater in Miami. That one is a hot topic. I don't want to get into it. That was a brutal one because I didn't see any of the signs, and the only one reporting it is the unaffiliated neuro doctor, which is his right to do, saying, I thought I saw this. And you know what? If he genuinely thinks he saw a stumble, I'm all for him doing it. It makes it tough when you're putting it in that subjective lane. You know what I mean? Like, I wish there was I don't know, because what I'm saying is, hey, he stumbled. That is objective. Like, you can see that. The issue is, on all of the video replays we've seen, there was no stumble. The caveat is maybe he did when he went back into the locker room and we didn't see it. But this is already in place.
Yeah, Miami can't catch a break as far as concussions go.
Concussions or injuries all around, man. We are hurting.
It's terrifying. And my whole point with that was, so first of all, we can have a whole discussion about Miami and the Dolphins did everything correctly, right? The NFL put out these rules and they did the investigation and they determined that nothing was done wrong. Yeah, totally. Not fishy at all, right?
I mean, my whole point with that was, and that's what I was looking for is, hey, we didn't find anything wrong in the way they applied the protocol, but the protocol was broken. That's what I was looking for.
So with that part, I didn't see anything official, but somebody said, oh, well, the doctor was fired because he got it wrong. I'm like, okay, well, that's ridiculous. Doctors get stuff wrong. If you can prove that he was negligent, then the protocol wasn't followed.
And that's why I brought that argument up. I hated that argument. I didn't even respond to that post because what you were saying was completely right. And that fan on that group was just off his rocker. I know we're streaming on that group and I love all you guys, but yeah, that was not the right argument to take.
Yeah, I mean, if you're firing the doctor because he got it wrong, like that's your right, but the doctor didn't do anything wrong. Doctors make mistakes. They're human.
To me, it was
a mistake. A fireable mistake is something that you intentionally did wrong.
Correct.
And if the other thing is, he had to get cleared by the independent neurosurgeon and the team doctor. The team doctor never got fired though. Right?
Yep.
So what's going on here? There's a lot of questions. And yeah, when you look at it, we don't know a lot about concussions. We still don't know a lot about concussions. We're still learning about it. There's a decrease in the number of kids playing football. The popularity is going down to a degree because nobody wants to. There's not as much of an appetite for these big hits, for these guys getting debilitating injuries. And now with all the steps the NFL has taken in the player safety area, we're still finding out that we don't know as much as we think we do. So to me, they did everything they were supposed to, and we still got the same result. I don't think it's the best ending out of all of this. But I will add, though, what happened on Thursday night to Tua Tagovailoa could have happened if he didn't ever get hurt on Sunday night to begin with, right? So that this is an entire thing that all goes back to it could have happened without any apparent injury or missed injury from Sunday night. So it's just not good. The NFL has no idea how to put out good press, in my opinion, whenever there's any type of controversy. And in fairness, this was pretty much a lose-lose situation.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if they come out and say X, Y, and Z wasn't followed, now it's a matter of you don't have control over your organizations, which is just as bad as saying, yeah, everything was followed. And, I don't know. It's not a good situation any way you slice it, in my opinion.
I'm gonna finish up the concussion talk here. Chris Olave had a fantastic grab in the touch in the end zone. Got his first NFL touchdown. Is now off that same play, out in concussion protocol. And then, like you're saying, man, what I've got here to finish it up is football is a dangerous sport. There's no question. Part of that's the reason why they get paid so much. Like, I hate to say it, but that's definitely part of it, is the risk they are taking. And it's hard to tell when it happens. Concussions affect everybody differently at every time. That's what makes it so hard to understand, because technically, if you sit there and bang your head on a table, if you want to get down to the nitty-gritty definition of a concussion, you just gave yourself one. Like, any blow to the head can be considered a concussion if you're depending on where you have that line. That's where it gets to be a gray area. The big thing is, as long as the NFL continues to learn and adapt their protocol to what they have learned, that's all we can do. That's the only way we can learn, because it's a science. It's not perfect. We don't know everything, and it's going to take us a while to get there. So as long as they continue to take the proper steps and add in the proper precautions as they come up for things that nobody would have thought of, then let's do that.
I will say too, I'm so glad the NFL actually those referees gave Chris Olave the touchdown. The last time I saw a player get injured in New Orleans catching a touchdown, he caught it, his leg snapped, on the turf, by the way, just compound fracture in his shin, snapped, he hits the ground, and then sets the ball down next to him. They called it an incomplete pass. That was the last play Zach Miller ever played in the NFL.
Yeah. No, and then I watched that play and I was like, they got to give him that touchdown, because he was all the way down. He was lights out when he hit, by the way, if you watch that replay, but he was all the way down, and it wasn't until he went lights out that the ball came out.
Yeah. So I'm glad they finally figured out what a catch was, even if it was only for one play.
All right. Can I tell you what I'm glad about, though?
Matt Rule got fired?
That we talked about coaching hot seats last week. And sure enough, one of the guys we talked on is no longer an NFL head coach. Matt Rule has been let go by the Panthers. Apparently, both sides allowed him. So he wanted to, and the ownership allowed him to have a meeting with the players to say thank you and goodbye, which is actually a really class move by both sides.
On both sides, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't usually happen in the NFL. His buyout is in the $40 million range. So for those of you who've been following us, we love our Terry Bowden units. It's looking like about 93 TBUs.
Which in dollar amounts is $40 million, which is more than what Nick Saban's buyout would be.
Yes.
At Alabama.
The interim head coach, and I'm sorry, this one makes me laugh. In an organization with a quarterback problem, the interim head coach is the one who drafted none other than Josh Rosen himself. Steve Wilkes will now lead the Panthers franchise for the rest of the season. The Panthers defensive coordinator has also been fired. But my question for you, Ben, does he go to West Virginia or does he go somewhere else? Where does Matt Rule end up?
Interesting. That is an interesting question.
I say West Virginia because the Big 12 connections, but there are plenty of good jobs out there, and I don't know who'd be looking for him. He is known as a program builder.
I know there's some Memphis fans that probably wouldn't be too upset to see him show up there. He's got experience coaching in that conference, of course, coaching Temple and PJ Walker, who ironically will be the
starting quarterback this week
for the Panthers this week. And the only reason he's on that team is because he played for Matt Rule, right? So yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't know what the appetite's going to be among Big 12 teams to bring him back in the fold after falling from a job like that. I could be completely wrong. He was amazing at Baylor.
Yeah, he built two programs. He built two programs quick. So I'm looking at teams that are looking for a quick turnaround. I really do like West Virginia. That seems to be a good fit for him. I'm not positive. This is all speculation. That'd be my top job expectation for him, though. For me personally, would be he's going to end up in a Power 5 program. He is going to. I foresee that being West Virginia.
And shout out to anybody that had Matt Rule as the first coach fired. I know a lot of Panthers fans were hoping for it, and a lot of different people were saying, yeah, that's probably how it's going to go.
Yeah. All right. You know who's been trashed, though?
Russell Wilson.
And apparently he's been trashed because he has a torn lat in his throwing shoulder. He was flying to California for some injections to relieve discomfort in his shoulder. Look, I'm not a quarterback, but something tells me that's more than just discomfort. and it's outright pain. All of that being said, he's not expected to miss any time. I'm thinking maybe he should.
Reminds me of that Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather fight back in 2015 when Manny Pacquiao was very clearly hurt. I believe it was his shoulder that was fucked up too. And it was just a pathetic fight that just ended up in a payday for both guys. Kind of ruined Pacquiao's legacy, and the people that hated Mayweather still hated him. The people that liked him were like, wow, you're so much better than Manny Pacquiao, even though Pacquiao was hurt. And I feel like that's kind of where we're at with Russell Wilson. If you're a Russell Wilson fan, you're saying, man, something's just it's got to be Denver. It's got to be something with the offense. And if you're ever doubtful about Russell Wilson, you're like, see, finally, it's just not working for him. He doesn't have the weapons, even though he's got decent guys out there, and he can't get it done.
Like I said, anything in the throwing shoulder for a quarterback, in the throwing arm for a quarterback concerns me. I highlighted my concerns about Matt Stafford earlier this year before the season started, and sure enough, that seems to be plaguing him in his throwing elbow. This makes it real tough for Russ, and for me to believe in the Broncos right now.
And I legit just saw a fantasy trade go through today in one of my leagues, Russell Wilson for Aaron Rodgers.
Wow, somebody got absolutely trade raped. You're welcome.
It was a dynasty superflex league, so
you're welcome, by the way, for telling you to pick up Taysom Hill last week.
I still lost.
Are you kidding me?
I don't have running backs. I don't have any running backs.
All right. Let's get into some of the fun stuff before we get into our reviews. Our alternate uniforms on the weekend are 1-1 in the NFL. But Ben, let's pop up those slides and get into some reviews.
Well, before we do that, no, it is reviews first. What do I know?
Not much. Okay, I have one comment on the Colts-Broncos games. NFL TV providers, please stop putting the Broncos on primetime. For the love of God, they've been on 3 of 5 weeks. They're about to be on 4 of 6 weeks because they're Monday night next week. God, please stop.
They've got to flex them out of that, right? Surely they can move somebody from Sunday to Monday.
No, they really don't like doing that.
I do not give a shit.
All right, let's move on to Sunday Night Football. The Ravens pulled it out. It was another squeaker. Man, the Bengals made that one close there for a bit, and the Ravens just came back, pulled it off. What you got on this one?
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens have an excellent team, and we've been surprised that they've choked away so many games. It was nice to finally see them get it done this week. I don't know what to think of the Bengals right now. They're not awful by any stretch of the imagination. After losing this week, they're 2-3. They're not where they want to be. They're not where I think a lot of people expected them to be, but by no means is this a bad team. I think the AFC North is going to come down between the Bengals and the Ravens. You know, maybe they split. You know, Ravens had a little bit of home field advantage underneath the lights. Who knows? And to only be 2 points better with that advantage, that's tough. The Bengals, man, they'll get it sorted out. I think, you know, every time you think they're down and out, they do something to challenge that. And this week, I don't think you can count them as down and out this week. They just ran into a Ravens team that finally said, hey, we're not going to lose this game in the last 5 minutes.
Correct. In fact, they won. I saw stats on Justin Tucker's field goal to win the game. Apparently, the stat is that if the field goal posts were half a yard wide, his kick was so down the middle, it has still been good.
Oh, man. Tucker, if Justin Tucker has the opportunity to win the game for the Ravens, he going to win the game for the Ravens. And this was a 2-point victory, so no other way to prove it.
Well, not the closest primetime matchup of the week. We do have a 1-point victory. Kansas City Chiefs against the Raiders. The Raiders came out real hot, looked real good there for a bit. And then the second half happened and Patty Mahomes took over.
Did Patty Mahomes take over, or did he just have the most reliable red zone target in the history of professional football?
I don't want to talk about Travis Kelce. I'm sorry. because every time Patty Mahomes was throwing a touchdown, it was to Travis Kelce. It makes me upset because I lost fantasy this week because of it.
7 receptions, 25 yards, 4 touchdowns.
God damn it.
Standard scoring 26.5, and then PPR 33.5. Just unreal numbers from Travis Kelce.
Dude, that really upset me because I had the second highest points in the league this week, and I lost. But you had the nicest score of the week at 169.
That is very, very true. Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about this game a little bit already. There's not much else to say. I know I was definitely sweating it. I was like, man, we all picked the Chiefs at home on Monday night, and they're getting worked by the Raiders. And then all of a sudden, that hometown advantage came in.
Yep.
Chiefs were able to pull it out. And yeah, 1 point, not great, but a win's a win.
All right, let's get on to our picks. Ben, what you got on the Eagles and Cardinals?
Whew.
Oh, I like this, man. Look at me, 5-0 on the week. Oh, it's a beautiful sight.
Yeah. So the Eagles won this one 20-17. Nobody expected this to be the last undefeated team in the NFL. This is insane. And I think the bigger question here is what the hell is going on with the Cardinals? Because while the Eagles didn't cover, they were still 5.5-point favorites going into this one. Where is this coming from? I don't know what's going on with Kyler Murray. I don't think there's any injury type stuff going on. I know losing DeAndre Hopkins coming back next week 7.
Week 7. I know what happened with Kyler Murray this week. It was double XP weekend. We covered this. I
don't think it was.
No, it was because Doug sent it to us, and I went back and changed my pick in my Pick'em league because of it.
Oh my God. It's just this one is what's going on with the Cardinals is almost more puzzling than what's going on with the Lions. Right? They went from highest scoring offense, everybody being like, how is this team 1-3 to getting shut out by the Patriots with a backup quarterback?
Like, oh, dude, the zappening is happening.
You've been dying to say that, haven't you?
No, we've already said it once before in the show. Either way, dude, Bailey Zappi, it scares me that Bailey Zappi looks good right now. Like, let's just be real. I as a Dolphins fan, fear the Patriots late round quarterback that takes over for an injury to the starting quarterback, who's projected to be a world beater anyway.
Well, you want to talk about a backup quarterback that's a world beater right now? Let's go straight into your game here.
Oh, Cooper Rush is 5-0 as a Cowboys quarterback. We're talking about the Eagles being the last undefeated team. Did anyone really expect Cooper Rush to start 5-0 as a quarterback in the NFL?
Across 2 seasons.
It is across 2 seasons. He is 4-0 on the season. But Jesus Christ, what? Although this game, if I read the stat line correctly, kind of follows the same game plan as it has been, which is it's been mostly the run game that's been carrying them.
And it hasn't been Zeke that's mostly been carrying them either, which is just adding to the controversy with the Cowboys offense and the Cowboys in general right now. I'm very curious to see how this is going to shake out because Jerry Jones is overly involved with the team.
Yes.
I'm concerned he's going to want to stick with Cooper Rush, and I don't know how much they can really rely on this run game. But then again, it's not like his passing numbers are atrocious.
No, they're solid. I find it hard to believe that when Dak comes back, they're gonna start Cooper Rush over him. I still find that hard to believe because the reason I say that is it's the same reason why Zeke is so hard to not play for Mike McCarthy. As much as Tony Pollard's been playing better, Jerry Jones's money is in Zeke. Jerry Jones's money is in Dak. So I honestly think Jerry Jones is the reason that Zeke is still getting the playing time he's getting, to be completely honest with you. I don't think that's Mike McCarthy at all.
I think so too. And I think, moving forward, you got to take into consideration what's been working, right? So even if they go with Dak Prescott, I think they have to go to a more run-focused offense. I don't know how you can justify anything else, frankly.
No, you can't.
So Doug went with the Rams because Monday night in LA.
No, No, let's call this for what it was. Doug saved us from ourselves. You and I both tried to pick the Rams. Doug messed up making the slide and gave us the win. Doug sacrificed himself for us.
Yes, he did. Thank you, Doug. I appreciate it. I will say though, when I saw it like that, I think I got to change how I make my picks because I really just took the Rams because it was at home, because it was Monday Night Football. But the Rams really haven't been all that impressive this week. I'm
This
going to
year at
going
all.
forward. Yeah, that's what I meant. But I'm going to go forward and just say when I'm making my picks, I'm going to put out a scenario that both teams win and whatever I believe more. That's what I'm going with.
I like it.
Because I absolutely talked myself into taking the Cowboys. I had completely forgotten that I didn't want to take the Cowboys.
All right, hey, let us apply that same logic to our fantasy picks.
Well, hold on. We
Uh-oh.
got something a little special before we get
Ooh.
to that. We talked about alternate jerseys. We talked a lot about alternate jerseys on the last show. Well, there is one, at least in the NFL this week, that we have to talk about now because when we're live on Thursday, they'll be running around on the field wearing this. And that is the Chicago Bears, Roquan Smith as the model here. And the orange jerseys they've had, they still have white pants. I'm a little disappointed they haven't done the Madden fuck up orange pants yet. And the orange helmet, it's grown on me. I'm not going to lie to you. I still think it's incredibly lazy. Don't get me wrong on that. It's incredibly lazy, but the orange helmet has grown on me.
If you gave them the orange pants and then the what you really want to see, we've talked about it before, but we give you what you really want to see in the actual bear logo on that helmet. Those are clean uniforms.
If they'd have put
I
the
might even
bear
let
on
you
this
go
helmet,
chrome on the orange. Like I hate the chrome dome, but you put the bear on it. Oh, dude, if you chromed up the bear on the helmet,
I would argue that chrome helmets have no place in the NFL. I'm looking at you, New York Football Jets.
I would argue chrome helmets have no place anywhere. But hey, that's just me.
Yeah, you're a hater. Yeah, but this is what the Bears are rocking. If you're an audio listener, VOD will be up on Twitch, twitch.tv/Big Dudes in the Trenches, all one word. Or you can hit that link at the bottom in the description here to our YouTube. We got to get some subscribers, so make sure to subscribe when you go to the YouTube.
Facts.
That way we can get a custom URL. YouTube rules. All right. But that's all we got. I don't believe the Commanders are coming out in any type of alternate uniform. Let's be real. This year is alternate uniforms every week for them because they are brand new uniforms.
All right. Now hit the slide.
Yeah.
Look, I got one right. Jarvis Landry was out this weekend, so you should have taken my advice. I told you not to play him. He came up
And
with a cool 0 points riding the pine.
this is why you want to listen to our shows live, because Thursday night is when we pick this. So if you would have listened and gone Thursday night and said, hey, you know what? They said to sit Jarvis Landry. Let me put him on the bench and see if I can find somebody better, or just put somebody on my roster and that's better.
Yep.
Because if you had Jarvis Landry, didn't have a better option on your bench, you might have been really scrambling on Sunday, and by then it might have been too late.
Yep. And then Garrett Wilson was a little bit of a dud for me this week. I thought he was going to go off. Apparently, Zach Wilson doesn't like Garrett Wilson, and that concerns me as a Garrett Wilson owner. Garrett Wilson manager. Let's not confuse things. He had 3 receptions on 4 targets, 27 yards, 2.5 in standard, 5.7 in PPR. Look, I'll take the wash on this. This game was brutal for Miami, but that scoreline does not depict how close that game was for like 95% of it. But hey, Garrett Wilson, I'm still looking for you, buddy. You'll still be starting on my team.
That brings us to start and sits for our running backs. Now, I've nailed it with Caleb Huntley, frankly. I don't quite understand why he was such a hot commodity to pick up. I get it. Cordell Patterson was hurt. Everybody was like, all right, who's gonna replace him?
It's Algier.
Yeah, Caleb Huntley wasn't it. 8 carries, 34 yards, 3.4 points in standard and PPR. And then again, another wash here. Actually, Khalil Herbert did 2.3 points worse in standard and PPR with only 1.1 points, 11 yards on 4 carries. I was a little surprised by that, especially when the Bears started to mount that comeback, that Khalil Herbert was not more involved. However, the offense was working perfectly fine without him there. So maybe these reports that Khalil Herbert wasn't going to fit into Khalil Herbert was going to be the back as opposed to David Montgomery in terms of how the run game was going to work in this offense.
All smoke, no fire.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't exactly right, and I kind of thought that going into the season as well. But when Khalil Herbert lights it up the way he did the first 3 weeks of the season, kind of tough to completely block that out of your mind there. So another week, another wash as far as fantasy forecasts go. We're sitting at about an 11-9 hit record. So we'll try and shape up here. Yeah, slightly better. We'll try and shape up here. I'd say our sits have been pretty good. I don't think we've ever missed one of those. Our starts are way more hit and miss.
I definitely missed one when I said to sit J.K. Dobbins the week he went off.
Yeah, that was
his first week back from injury.
That was just a conservative pick. I'm not going to get too upset with you about that.
All right.
But that'll do it for NFL talk. I guess it's time to move on to some college football news. And I think there's no better place to start than with the AP Top 25 poll. So what do you say we go straight to it?
Let's do it. And I got to say, this is the first week I am not overly upset about the AP Top 25. There are some things I like. There are some things I don't like. But overall, the movement in the top 4, Georgia takes number 1 again. Ohio State bumps up to number 2, and Alabama drops to number 3 after they arguably should have lost that game to A&M. I'll give out some news later, and we'll discuss this more later in the week, but they're extremely lucky that Bryce Young is coming back this weekend. At least that's what reports are saying at this moment.
Yep, so that's the top 3. Number 4 is Clemson, followed by number 5, Michigan, number 6, Tennessee, number 7, USC, number 8, Oklahoma State, number 9 is Ole Miss, and number 10, Penn State. Worth mentioning here, at number 25, we have James Madison University, who is ineligible for a bowl game this season. Can we talk about that for a minute?
I'm really wondering what's going to happen when they get the highest ranking group of 6 or group of 5 team, and ESPN says, "Hey, you have to let them through because they pay the NCAA money." Is what it is. I love that JMU's here. It's taken them 5 weeks at the FBS level to get their first top 25 national ranking. This is absolutely fantastic. NCAA, Conference USA, please, for the love of God, allow them to play in a conference championship in a bowl game. All right, moving on to our next story here. Rutgers have fired their offensive coordinator. Honestly, I didn't even go look up his name. But their tight end coach, Nunzio Campanelli, is going to take over as their offensive coordinator and their quarterback coach. This is a move from Greg Schiano after losing to Nebraska in a 1-score game, something that has not happened in 2 years. I don't know. To me, that does not seem like the most enticing offensive coordinator job out there.
No, it's interesting that we're talking about, the top 3 bouncing around because really all of these, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, they've all looked vulnerable at different times during the season. Rutgers just hasn't looked good at all this season. And I don't know, maybe a change of offensive coordinator will fix that. Maybe they've got talent that wasn't utilized the best way. But I would not. I guess it's better to have a Division I FBS Power 5 job than not. That's really 100%, all there is to it.
100%. All
right,
Ben, I'm going
to though.
Yeah, I'm going to let you run with this because I know you love this team so much.
Yeah, so Tennessee safety Jalen McCullough is facing felony assault charges. Now, reportedly, a man walked into his apartment by mistake. McCullough followed him out and punched him, knocked him out. So I lived in Tennessee for a while. If he followed him out, I get it. But if somebody walked in and if he had punched him in his apartment,
There's
then
no charges there.
there's no charges.
Yeah.
There is castle domain law in Tennessee. So
So
I don't.
I will add this into the story too, because I read this when I was reading through the article. The man had admitted that he was drinking in his apartment with his friends. He had walked out to go get something and walked back into the wrong apartment. In other words, dude was cocked off his mind.
Mhm.
Now, that does not change the fact that if he had actually walked out of the apartment and McCullough had followed him, this is absolutely an issue. But I'm with you. If this is just the report and not actually what happened, because let's be honest, how much is the legal system going to trust a drunk witness? It's hard to say. If that's not what happened, then I'm on your side, and it's castle domain, and that's 100% his place to punch a dude out.
Yep. And worth noting, this is the third Tennessee player to be arrested so far this season. Started off with Savion Herring, offensive lineman, who was dismissed from the program after he was charged with domestic assault. And then linebacker William Mohan, he was also arrested on domestic assault charges in August, also dismissed from the team. It's insane to me that this team keeps winning when it seems like they couldn't get out of their own way so often through recent years where they've had teams that had such high expectations. And this year they've got all this extra shit going on the side, and they're number 6.
I was gonna say maybe that was it Pruitt. No, that's not who the coach is right now.
Heupel.
Heupel. Maybe he was the right hire. I mean, clearly he's getting some world beaters out there.
Oh God. Oh God.
All right, before I get us off the air real quick, let's throw up some ranked matchups and go on into it. I already mentioned the Bryce Young line.
Yeah, I mean, Bryce Young, he's expected to be available for Tennessee this weekend.
I'd already said that.
And we had another big injury this week, though.
Oh, I did almost skip that one, huh? This one hurts, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if Kansas wins, and we'll talk about this game here in a little bit. I don't know if they win if Jalen Daniels doesn't go out, but it definitely did not help.
No, not at all.
Kansas would lose this one. So it's looking like he's going to miss the rest of the season. I hope this doesn't spell the end of the line for him as far as football goes. I hope he's able to go to the combine.
So he does have another year of eligibility. He is a COVID player, so he has another year of eligibility.
You got to be asking the question of what's better right now.
If you're coming off an injury and you had no draft stock going into the season, you got to return.
I think so, because he was definitely building it. And I think this team's only going to be better if he comes back again next year, because all the talented players around him are going to be that much better.
The question there becomes, and now we're getting to some real speculation, is does he stay at Kansas or does he follow Leopold?
Yeah, that's assuming Lance Leopold leaves.
Yeah, I agree, but he is the biggest, hottest name out there right now. He is the new shiny for all the Power 5 programs.
Yeah, of course he is. It's disgusting. I hate it. I don't even like fucking Kansas. I can't believe I'm fucking saying this. Let's just go into our ranked matchups this week. Big one in the Pac-12. Utah, number 11, once again is upset by a lower seed, losing this time to UCLA, who had about 14 people in the stands.
It is good for college football when UCLA and USC are good.
And ironically, both teams are undefeated right now. So that's absolutely awesome. Our second matchup, Tennessee beat LSU. And then our third matchup.
Oh, we're just gonna walk over how Tennessee absolutely walked into Death Valley and said no, and absolutely trounced on the Tigers.
Well, it's not the original Death Valley anyway, so that's really why
it's one of the Death Valleys.
Yeah, it's not the OG. LSU would fall completely out of the rankings due to this as well. Tennessee was only a 3-point favorite, and they won 40-13. Like, I'm not saying Tennessee's legit, but Jesus Christ, LSU.
I love how you tried to walk over that one. Like, yeah, and this one happened, and
what'd you expect?
Exactly you to do that.
I also want to point out that while Jalen Daniels went out, TCU only won 38-31. Right, this was
Yeah.
still a very close, very competitive game.
Yep.
Kansas, I'm worried about them. Right, Jalen Daniels was the heart and soul of this team, but I think they're going to be all right moving forward.
Their quarterback is Mr. Bean, so I think they'll be okay.
Oh God, I don't even want to know.
His last name is actually Bean.
I know. I don't want to know. Let's go on to our FCS ranked matchups. Another close one, 27-21.
The Blue Hens, man.
The Blue Hens
I
lost
believed in
this
them.
one. It was their first loss of the season, and William and Mary improved to 5-1, winning 27-21. One possession game. Barn burner is what it looks like to me.
Yep.
Our next matchup, Weber State, number 7 at home, hosting Eastern Washington. Yeah, this one wasn't even close though. 45-21. I can't say I'm all that surprised though.
No.
And last but not least, of course, the game I was most excited for, actually looked into going to this one with SIU playing Missouri State, and the Dogs won 38-21 in Springfield. They improved to 4-2, while Missouri State falls to 2-4. Big win in Missouri Valley Conference play. SIU has completely turned their season around. I'm hoping they can keep up this momentum.
This is an absolutely fantastic game for SIU. This slide hurts me personally. But hey, it's the FCS. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm sometimes picking and seeing what sticks. Eastern Washington is not it.
Neither is Missouri State right now.
Nope.
That brings us to the nicest slide on here. We talked about USC and UCLA both being undefeated. Well, it continued this week. We said Washington State was going to have to do some things well to win this game, obviously, and really outperform what they've done all year. But it was still an intriguing matchup because they were 4-1 coming into this thing. And when you really looked at their record, it wasn't all that impressive that they were 4-1, but there they were. USC, of course, was undefeated and at home. They were number 6. They were a 17-point favorite. And what do you know? They missed covering it by 1 point. Vegas wins again.
It's almost like that's why they set them there.
It's
you know what?
insane.
I am gonna skip something real quick because we're gonna talk about the game where the bettors won, and Vegas lost because Jesus Christ. OU walked into the Texas State Fair and said, "You know what we're gonna do? We're gonna lay an egg." And Texas went, "You goddamn right you are." Freaking 49-0. Are you kidding me?
It is the biggest shutout loss in OU history. And you know Texas is excited that they were able to do it the last year in the Big 12 in the Red River rivalry.
It has not been confirmed that this is the last year in the Big 12. They're
It's
technically
the
under.
Big 12.
They're technically, nothing's been announced, though. We can't officially say that yet.
It's probably their last year in the Big 12.
There you go. I'm okay with that.
This is absolutely insane. I don't know what the hell is going on with Oklahoma. But Oklahoma being in college football playoff conversations probably won't happen again next year after how bad this year is going.
Oh, no, that was absolutely brutal. Quinn Ewers came back and looked like a stud, like he hasn't missed any time. Looked like he was every bit of the recruit he was touted to be, which must be nice for Texas to see this early. Honestly, after playing 1.5 games prior, for them to see that this early has to be real nice. That was a brutal offense to watch.
Yeah, and then for Hudson Card
way
to come out and just kind of, he was good enough to win a couple of games.
Yep.
You know, it seems like maybe the boosters actually made a good decision in this one.
We'll see, man.
I mean,
I agree.
It's tough to put a lot of this and seeing a lot of high praise for Quinn Ewers and the Texas offense when we've seen just how bad OU has been this season.
So I will say this. The last 2 weeks, you got to realize that Dylan Gabriel is out. Brett Venables came through as an as a defensive coordinator. I don't know how much he's used to working with his backup quarterbacks or who he hired for his offensive coordinator if they're used to doing that. Now that might sound like a cop out, but honestly, that's a big deal because Bevel is just not the answer. Bevel looks like garbage out there. The game is too fast for him. He can't make his reads. I don't know. That's just it looked like somebody who's not ready to play D1 college ball at quarterback for OU, and I have to say that's a significant part of their issues right now.
Yeah, they've got to get it. They've got to get it figured out. That's all. That's all there really is to it. Last but not least, Doug's game. We're going back to the middle of the screen here for those of you viewing. I'm sure you were wondering why we hadn't talked about Purdue, Maryland. It's because Doug's not here and Texas, Oklahoma was just that insane. But this one was pretty crazy too. Maryland was a 3-point favorite, and guess who lost by 3? Maryland. Purdue is a
Betters
weird
win
team.
again.
Maryland is a weird team. And the Big Ten is being kind of weird this year. Illinois has creeped its way into the top 25 at number 24. I don't know what's going on.
So I will say this about Purdue for those of you who don't follow the Big Ten closely, as much as Doug does and has since gotten me to pay attention to it. Typically, it's not on the road, but Purdue is always that game that even the big schools have circled because that is the trap game every year. Everyone overlooks Purdue for absolutely no reason. So that is 100% the trap game.
I completely agree. I'm curious to see how this season ends up shaking out for all of these teams. And really, I've got USC, UCLA circled. I mean, how can you not at this point, right?
You have to. No, that 100%. And we might get it 2 weeks in a row.
That would be amazing. And I think that's what everybody in college football wants.
NCAA,
Except probably the Pac-12. The Pac-12 probably does not want to see that.
NCAA, let them both wear home jerseys. It's okay. They're just very different in color. Just let them both wear home jerseys.
I think they can. It just takes prior coordination. The reason it was a penalty that 1 year was because nobody had coordinated it prior.
It shouldn't need to. It's my own team. As long as the colors are distinctive.
I agree. I don't make the rules.
I know.
Mr. Ref.
I know. I just have to enforce them.
Here is Doug's picks as far as prospect previews. Deshaun Jones, redshirt senior out of Maryland. No stats recorded. I didn't get a chance to watch this game, so I couldn't tell you what happened.
I will
Doug
say
sent us something.
say, okay, yeah. If he's got something for us, you scroll through and see. But I will say for the way they've been playing this year, for him not to have any stats recorded is a huge reason why they lost. Because if I'm not mistaken, he's been fairly involved in every game. You're looking at 4 to 5 catches every game to this point. Even getting involved in the rushing game. That's no stats recorded is a tough one.
Yeah, I hate it. But we're going through. I know he sent something. I just can't find it quite. Yeah, here we go. So actually, let's go backwards a little bit here and pick up his notes for Purdue at Maryland. He says it's a fantastic game. Quote, all sorts of dumb shit from each team. Neither has a shot at conference title if they play like this every game, but very fun. Came down to a missed PAT and then a failed 2-point try by Maryland. Game ball goes to tight end Payne Durham for his multiple clutch big plays to seal things for the Boilermakers this week. And then going off of that to talk about Deshaun Jones, he was, quote, targeted several times, none of which seemed catchable to me. And when I looked up his stats, I didn't even count any of his targets. So, yeah, I would agree that none of them were catchable. And sure, first-round pick makes 1 or 2 of those in Doug's assessment here. But I still saw enough to invite him to the Senior Bowl. He got open on that game-ending 2-point play. Talia Tagovailoa just missed him. And that'll take us to Carl Brooks, defensive end out of Bowling Green. He did record some stats, 2 tackles, 3 assisted. And if those are meager stats, well, it's because Bowling Green got absolutely wrecked this weekend. It was just brutal for Bowling Green all around from Doug here. I don't know if you can blame Brooks, but at the same time, big time players show up in big time games, and he didn't. I mean, if you go look at the score of this game, I think it was like 44-7. I mean,
Yeah, it was
it's
a brutal
just
game.
it was
Not as bad as
it was
49-0, but it was gross.
it was absolutely disgusting, and I dare say almost as gut wrenching as blowing a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter to lose by 1.
You did not lose to Utah State. You did not
The
lose.
first FBS team to blow a 19-point lead in the fourth quarter in 125 tries.
You did not lose to Utah State. Like, we lost to 2 1-win teams at one point this year or another. Both Wyoming and Utah State, both in conference, in division. I hate Troy Calhoun.
I mean, at
Both
some
on the
point, you got to blame the players.
No, so actually, this is something I brought up with Ben, all right, with Doug. Air Force this year has had a serious tendency to play down to their opponents. And when I look at the history of Air Force, it's not just this year. Air Force tends to play down to their opponents. They play up to their opponents too.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, something systematic like that, and maybe this is confirmation bias and me just looking for something, that also comes from the coaching staff. If it truly is systematic. That's, I don't know.
I think that's confirmation bias from you because
I'll take it.
I've never seen, I've been a part of teams that do that, and I've never had a coach ever do anything differently except getting our ass more whenever we're playing a worse team because he knows that we're fucking slacking off in practice. So it's not, I don't think you can put it on the coach. The players are just not listening to him and respecting what he has to say for whatever reason. And maybe that does come back on him a little bit.
I was going to say that's also another reason to go get a new coach. We've seen teams do it where coach can't get the buy-in. So, all right, coach, you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. I have nothing in the way of non-NFL pro news this week. And honestly, it was a pretty busy weekend for everybody on the show this week. We all, of course, enjoyed our day off on Monday. And then that's why we weren't live yesterday, by the way. And we all just kind of were running around enjoying the start of a nice long weekend. So we never got around to doing the Mount Rushmores. We never really thought of a good idea to do it with. We were working on the Discord, trying to get everything sorted out with that. You got any updates for us there, Tug?
They are currently working on it. I will give a little bit of a spoiler. We are having a bot made specifically for us that does not exist out there right now. So that's going to be a big news. Hopefully I have updates later this week, but things are in the works and magic should be happening here soon.
Yeah, and like we said, we simply just don't have enough time on these shows or enough time live with everybody to go and do these Mount Rushmores and these Mount Rushmore drafts live on the air. We don't have those capabilities, but Discord is going to afford us the opportunity to at least let you guys see how we make our picks. And that way, hey, it's legit. And when we introduce it on the Monday shows, you will know that it was done fairly and correctly. So we're looking forward to getting that all sorted out. But for right now, just wait. Just wait. It's coming.
All right. I do have one more piece of news I forgot to mention earlier. I forgot to throw it in there. For the first time, there is hinting of it, the NFL looking at expanding into Europe.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to put that story in there, too.
There's a lot of news. It seems like Roger Goodell, his comment says he feels like London could support 2 teams. Look, I don't want to get into this now. We're already at the end of the show. I'm going to take some time to develop my thoughts, but you're looking at two in London. I think one in Spain, one in Germany is the initial reports, and then adding some Canadian and some Mexican teams as well. The initial report is just 4 teams in Europe. Fans have taken that and speculated, well, hey, if you're going to do that, you're going to make an international division. The international division will be Canada, Mexico, and Europe. We'll see how all this shakes out. Let me form my thoughts before we get into it fully. But Ben, just to break us up here, you wanna go with your Snapple fact for Tuesday?
Well, I absolutely want to, before I do that, I absolutely want to say if you have any thoughts on this or any theories, speculation that you might want to throw in and add, be sure to shoot us an email, BDT or mailbox at bdtfootball.com, or you can slide into those DMs on Twitter, twitter.com/BDTfootball, or just at BDTfootball on Twitter.
Slide into all of our DMs.
Yeah, I mean, you can hit us up on Instagram where it's instagram.com/BDT_football. Dear God. And then
he doesn't usually do this, guys.
Yeah, facebook.com/BDT football. So really search BDT football. You'll find us anywhere. You can shoot us that message, give us your theories. We want to hear from you. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/BDT football. We got some tiers. We got some trench ratings. They are very close to coming out. Be ready. I think next week will be the first week that we debut them. And if you disagree with the college football playoff rankings, or rather the AP top 25 rankings, ours are completely unbiased. And Doug actually hated it for quite a time last year because we had Michigan at number 1. If you
Ben,
want
who
any
hates
proof
it
that
now?
it's unbiased, it would be the fact that Doug made the system and it put Michigan at number 1 the first year we went public with it. So obviously no bias involved here. I didn't make it. I can't do anything. I just hate Doug for putting Tennessee at 1.
He didn't put him
at
there.
1.
He
The
didn't put him
numbers
there.
did.
Tennessee put him there.
The numbers did. But yeah, Snapple fact, because I can't believe we have to talk nicely about Tennessee since they're a full moon is 9 times brighter than a half moon.
I like it.
It's interesting to me that it's 9 times instead of 2 times, but what are you going to do?
You know, not much. There's really not much you can do at that point. But all right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have on the show today. Thank you for watching or listening. And just remember, you can't win a game if you can't win in the trenches.